Maschine Studio and the Maschine 2.0 software can form the perfect center to your studio setup. For music production, it takes everything to a new level. But at the same time, there's a place for this in the booth. And what I want to show you is various ways of moving from the studio environment into the club environment. Using Studio and the software, I've put together an idea for a track that I think would work really well out in a club environment. But before I can move it in that direction, there's several things that I really want to get sorted out. On Maschine, I have several groups set up for the track that I want to play out. So from Group A, we have drums. Just play this out. Group B is a bass line. And from Group C, that I have set up here, so essentially what I have is a basic loop idea running. Now, using the pattern mode within Maschine, I have different patterns set up with different sounds, so I can build the progression in loops. Now, this is one way we can use Maschine within a live environment. I can set up different loops, different progressions of different sounds. These can be brought in stages to give a kind of live jammed feel to the piece that you're putting together. On top of this, we also have scenes, and each of these scenes has different combinations of the different groups. So with these loops, I can build up a track in the same way that you would do in the studio, but in a live environment. But the live environment gives us more of an opportunity to build on these ideas using various different functions from within Maschine. One of the strongest ones for these is the use of macros. Now, macros enable you to bring parameters from different plugins together into a very easily tweakable scenario. So let's go through this. Let's take Group B and my basses here. Now what I have set up here, and I'm going to go through to this sound that I've got called top bass. So I'm going to go to the plugin on the sound, and you can see on the screens that I have the plugin itself, a saturator, grain delay, and then I have a compressor, the solid dynamics at the end. Now each of these has various elements that I can bring. So I'm going to go to the top, I'm going to go to my basses, and specifically the top bass that I have running here. Now this is made with Massive. Remember, we've got complete integration of the Native Instruments plugins within Studio. I have a saturator and a grain delay on here, and each one of these has been set up on this middle row here for maximum tweakability. So for example, I can go to the filter, and I also have the resonance. Like that. And then I also have the elements of the grain delay sat here as well. Which will enable me to bring things in like that. So in real time, we can get build effects on the go, we can get transitions, we can get breakdown effects. Now, each of these are set up, but using the macro, I can bring these all together. Now remember, with Maschine, we have unlimited groups and unlimited plugins. This means that you can build some very, very complex effects chains. So if I go to the plugin again here, what we can see is the different parameters for each of these set up. Now I'm going to move over to the software here because it's slightly easier to do this. On the software, you can see that I have each of the individual effects in a list. I can click down underneath here to this button marked Pages. Pages provide me with automatable parameters from the chain of effects that I have here. And you can see I have 3 set up here. So let me get a macro 4, and then this macro, I can use this to bring in another one if I like. Once I've got the pages set up, what I can then do is go to macros, and I can bring in parameters from across these plugins onto a central page. So you can see here I have the filter set up, and also from the grain delay I have various parameters like the pitch and the reverse and so forth. Now you can do this at the sound, the group and the master level. So with various different groups, for example, group D, I have this purely set up for send and return. Now the thing is, with the groups, when you bring in a plugin using Shift and Browse, if the first plugin in the first slot is an effect, it automatically sets that group up on the mixer for send and return. So what I've done is on D, I have a reverb and a delay that I'm going to use for dub effects. And then I have the sends from specific sounds within my drum group routable to that using the macro. So if I bring this in, let me just mute out the bass and my riff. I go to my macro, and I can bring them in like this. So essentially, creating controls that you can use to change your performance as you go through the set. So bring these other sounds back in again. On top of this, I've also set up some effects on my drums using Guitar Rig, so using part of the complete set. Now this, within Guitar Rig, gives you access to things like Tractors 12, which are a bunch of tempo synced effects that work really, really, really well in this kind of environment. And I can bring this in by shift and bypass. And what we can hear there is the delay causing the hats to bounce, but this is a specific set of effects. So I have sounds I can bring in. So things like that. So again, one of the great things about the studio is you have to practice it like an instrument. To get the best out of something like this, you have to learn to use it and you have to work with it, and it makes a fantastic live tool. So far we've seen how to use Maschine for building a track in a live situation, but you may want to use this to augment a DJ set by providing a bank of sounds that you can bring in through your performance that you can then add effects to. And in this sense, I've created Bank E, which is being used as a more traditional sample bank. So what I have here is a range of sounds that can be used to augment tracks already playing. Now there is a fantastic library built into Maschine that comes with Maschine that we can use for this purpose. So what I can do is I can go to my browse here and the sound itself, and we have various different samplers as you see. So what I can then do is bring the sampler in. So I'm going to go to Instruments and then Sampler, load this up, and now what I can do is I can go to my browse and I can look for effects. So I'm going to use this. I can use the jog wheel as well to go through, but I'm going to move through and find some effects that I can use. So scrolling, sound effects is what I want. There we go. And subtypes, we've got lots and lots of choice. Something like big and bad works for me. Now, all of these sounds that I have here, just go through, something here called Laser Cop, for example, and I can load this in. And now, I have this loaded on the pad. So you can essentially set these up with all the sounds you're going to need for your set. And once you've done that, I've also got, on the group, a set of effects that are going to work really well with these kind of effects. So for example, again using the macro, we have a flanger, which we can use for effects. I have the standard kind of delay again. And also, let's bring it in again, a frequency shifter. So that we can use these so that these sounds that you're using don't get overused, or you can change them as you go. I also have various drop effects. Let's take some of these reverbs off, which we can use. Bring various sounds in. Now, to stop these all triggering at the same time, I'm making use of choke groups. So, for example, I've got this white noise sweep, which has the sidechain. Remember, sidechaining, a big new feature within Maschine Studio and the Maschine 2.0 software. But this is now choking with my siren. So you don't get two playing at the same time and too many sounds. So this is two ways that you can use Maschine to either generate an entire live set or augment a DJ set as is necessary.